Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. Welcome to TimetoPlay.com's Empower Half Hour, where each week one of the professional resources from TimetoPlay.com provides discussion and tips on how we can enjoy life. My name is Doreen Guma. I'm a board-certified healthcare executive. I've worked in healthcare since 1987. I'm just a regular person. I'm a mom and a worker bee. And I started TimetoPlay.com as my quest for quality of life. I just figured I'd take 1 million people with me while I learned how to enjoy life. I have to apologize. I have like this ridiculous cold today. TimetoPlay.com is a people helping people project, and I'm so excited to have so many amazing professionals who've donated their time and expertise to write articles for the site. They've joined me in my mission to help 1 million people have a better life, and guess what? We're all part of the team. And everyone has something to offer to make someone else's life better. I believe that through helping another person, we help ourselves. The time to play philosophy is if you're not happy, healthy, if you don't have money, or if you don't have a work-life balance, it will be difficult to have quality of life. To help us have a better life today, we have Dr. Karin Stewart. Good morning, Karin.
Good morning, Doreen. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome, and such a pleasure to have you as part of the Time to Play team. Karin is a time management expert, and don't we say every day that we need more time. Here's a little about Karin's background. After earning her PhD in communication systems and working in corporate America, she became acutely aware of the profoundly negative effects of poor time management on workers and the work-life balance issues encountered by many. One of the things, like as I said, is TimetoPlay.com's philosophy is if you don't have a work-life balance, you can't have quality of life. And truly, using your time inappropriately eats up any time that you can to play. So that's why we have Karin. So Karin founded Daily Mastery in 2003 and has provided much-needed relief to a growing number of satisfied and now peacefully productive professionals. I love that. Her personal experience as a successful business owner juggling work and family life led Karin to develop simple techniques, breakthrough behavior modification tools, and effective strategies that her clients use with great success, resulting in optimal productivity and rewarding work-life balance. And she is the author of the popular book, The 5-Minute Time Management Solution. Before we go to it, I just want to read what her homepage, she has this sentence. It often seems like a frantic life we live is like a never-ending juggling act between conflicting priorities, insufficient time, and stress. It is overwhelming. So many just give up and try to do the best they can, believing that this is the way it is. Everyone is hurried. Everyone is struggling. Everyone is lacking in time. Everyone has to give up on their dreams for their quality of life. Yet it's not true. You can have a peaceful and balanced life right now, right here, and that is on Karin's homepage on dailymastery.com. And seriously, Karin, that is the epitome of the whole Time to Play project here.
Absolutely.
Let's really get down to it. You promised easy tips on how to make 2012 a year where you could get more done in less time and without stress. So how do we start to plan and organize ourselves to make 2012?
Well, I will really focus on the time management aspect of organizing yourself. And the first thing that I want to say is don't make resolutions for 2012. Instead, create habits. Don't make the resolution to be organized or to master your time, because that is the best way that you will fail. About 70% of all New Year's resolutions are abandoned by February. And there are a few reasons for that. One of them is motivation. It's like I put as resolution to lose weight because my doctor says so, but I don't really want to. So, of course, it's not going to happen. You have other reasons for that, but one of the biggest is that we try to bite too much at once. thank you so much for taking that sentence out of my webpage. I had forgotten it. And
well,
I think
this is exactly what we're speaking of. This is our struggle to have quality of life, to enjoy life. I do want to interrupt for just 1 second because we do have a caller, and let's just see what they are wanting to know, because maybe we want to modify what our agenda looks like. But hold on 1 sec. Let's pick up this person. Good morning. This is Time to Play's Empower Half Hour. Who's calling?
Francine de Bach here.
Hi, Francine. Good morning. Do you have a question?
Karen. Hi.
Good morning.
My problem is overload of information on with the emails, and I can take a whole day just cleaning out my emails and not accomplishing what I need to accomplish, and it's just the technology has become so overwhelming. That
I appreciate that. I have 5,000 emails in my email box.
Yeah.
Karen, give us a suggestion.
All right. So a very, very quick tip. Don't process every email as it comes in. I know it may look daunting to have 100 emails in your mailbox at once, but if you treat them all at once, you process them all at once, it's going to be a lot faster than if you do one at a time. Plus, when you do one at a time, you're constantly interrupted or interrupting yourself, which has a cost on the rest of your day and the rest of your work. This is in good part how email starts to eat up into our lives. It's because we take it every time it comes, and hence we're interrupted every time it comes. And just to give you a sense of the cost of interruptions, a task that would take you 10 minutes to do without interruptions takes you anywhere between 30 and 50 minutes to complete when you are interrupted. And this is taking out the time for interruptions. So if you go through your email in batches, you're going to avoid a lot of that interruption time, so it's going to give you more time outside of your email. And also you have a built-in benchmarking there. So in other words, you know when you have a lot of emails which ones are important, which ones aren't, and you can process them, you will process them faster.
That's a very good call-in, Francine, and I appreciate you calling in with that question. If you do have other questions, you can go on TimetoPlay.com and go to Karen's page. If you go under Happiness, you'll look and you could see Karin Stewart, and she has an Ask a Question link that you can ask her some other questions, so we can continue to have more dialodialogue that can be helpful.
At any time, yes. And I will be checking that every day or two. So just bear with me if I'm not answering within 24 hours, but I promise I'll answer within 2 days.
Thank you so much, Francine.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francine.
I'm happy I'm not the only one.
Oh, you're by far not. This is one of my most popular questions. That in terms of the questions that I get the most often. So, and this is actually a great way to illustrate the concept. We have so much to deal with that we don't have the time, we don't have the energy to make a big change, like a New Year's resolution is. We can't just transform things overnight. It requires way too much energy, it requires way too much willpower, and both are in limited supply. So instead of making resolutions, build new habits and start really small. You know, to take the example of the email, start really small. Do just one thing. Turn off your email alarm and put on a reminder if you're afraid that you're going to forget to check your email every once in a while. Depending on the client and the profession, it's anywhere between once an hour and once a day. And just forget about it. That's 5 minutes. Okay? And do other things like this. If you're thinking of losing weight, Decide that you're just going to switch for a while, that you're just going to switch soda for water, or for a diluted juice if you want to have taste, or Crystal Light or something that gives you a taste but does not have the calories, and then build on this further and further and further. This is actually the way that you make big transformations, and that is the first really important tip that I wanted to talk about when I said, it is what you do today that will decide what your future is going to be. It is those little actions repeated day after day that make all the difference in the world.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's because of that you mentioned my book, The 5-Minute Time Management Solution. It is built on that premise that really it's small things that we do and we get in the habit of them, and then we add a new small thing and we add a new small thing. And it can indeed be things that are so simple that they take just 5 minutes, but over time they transform our lives.
I love that. Okay, so you put out a thing for me, and it's like a little teaser you wrote. So you have a simple daily organizing tool that, used correctly, can make or break your day, and that I already know it, but I don't know how to make it effective. So I've been pondering what this might be, and okay, so what is it? Go tell me.
It's the to-do list.
The to-do list. My to-do lists have to-do lists.
and I know that everyone who's listening to this call has heard of the notion of the to-do list.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, most of the to-do lists that I see when I start to work with someone are to-do lists that are pretty much built to fail. For instance, if you have just one running to-do list, it's so overwhelming that you just want to sit down and do nothing, because there is no way you will ever manage to finish this. Do you need to have a running to-do list? Yes. So for those who are not familiar with the term, running to-do list is just a to-do list where you put everything that you need to do. And I mean everything. This is a useful tool, but this is not a tool to use day in and day out throughout the day. It is a great tool because the more you put on paper, the more brain power you have available for your actual work. Just to give you an idea.
How do we modify our to-do list?
Yes. This is where the trick is. You need a second list that is your daily list. That is the one just for today. And not only that, but you want to write this list so that you write down your top, 1 to 5 priorities. And you can even limit it to just that if you want to. Your top 1 to 5 priorities. It's those things that if that's all you get to do of what's on your list that day, your day was okay.
Well, you've accomplished something.
You've accomplished something. It's also those things that if you have done them at the beginning of the day, you won't need to stay between 6 and 8 in the office because they haven't been done yet. You know what they are.
But you've done the most important stuff.
Exactly. And you know what they are. Yeah, I have a teeny number of clients who can't figure out immediately right off the top of their head what this 1 to 5 is. And I say 1 to 5 because if you have a day full of appointments, you probably realistically can do only 1 or 2. Also, some are longer than others. If you have to write a report, it's going to take a lot longer than if you have a couple of quick phone calls to set up appointments. So play around with it, but limit it to 5. if you go
I
beyond
want to interrupt one more time a second. We do have another caller. So just hang on. Let's see what they need here. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, I got to push this button. Hi, good morning. Welcome to Time to Play's Empower Half Hour. And I'd like to welcome you. And do you have a question?
Yeah, it's Francine again. I got interrupted with a commercial, and then I got hung up. So I don't know how that happened.
Okay. So, all right. So you wanted to
now
hang on.
Now we get commercials.
I don't know. I don't have a commercial. Okay. So we have we talked about the list, and if people do want a little more information on that, that is also on Karin's article this week. That is on the Time to Play site. I have a question for Karin because there's I guess kind of interesting in here. You talked about our brains are able to sustain complete focus for only 20 minutes or so. Working in a focused manner without a break or much longer overtires the brain, which leaves it less able to solve problems. So you're actually suggesting to do 20 minutes of function and then take a 5-minute break, short bursts of very intense focus work and recharging breaks. So I'm just curious, if that's something that we should implement in this part of this to-do list here. Is that something that you would recommend? Is that more effective in us trying to accomplish some of this stuff?
It can absolutely help, yes. In general, when you want to do focused work, you want to try to avoid interruptions. Also, we can stay focused for only so long. So if you limit the time, then it will be a lot easier. And the time we are able to stay focused, if you really look at studies or you look at a classroom, people can stay 100% engaged for about 20 minutes. And then you will start to see them glance around or close their eyes. That's a way to disconnect for a second before getting engaged again. Very good speakers know that. And so every 20 minutes or so, sometimes even every 15 minutes, they're going to make a joke. Or they're going to change their pacing, either change their voice, change the topic abruptly to rekindle people's attention. This being said, you can sustain focus for longer periods of time. So one of the things that you can do is when you do this to-do list and you're doing one of those 1 to 5 priorities is to close the door, turn off your phone, shut everything off for a little while and just work on those. I recommend to my clients that they take the first hour of the day to do that. That is a do not disturb hour, where they just work and work and work. One other thing about that list, though, is that sometimes, especially for creative people, that can be a very boring way of doing a to-do list. Some people give up on the to-do list because it's just too boring, or it doesn't correspond with their way to see things. So I just want to let people know that on my website, under my blog, so if you go to dailymastery.com and you click on the blog tab and you search for an article that I put around Christmas of last year, so Christmas 2010, there is an article about creative to-do lists, and that shows you some formats to make it really fun for you and interesting and engaging so that you actually want to complete your to-do list, because that's also a problem that's found. Yes.
Well, to-do lists are, like I said in the beginning, and I'm sure most people have the same, but most people's to-do lists are, they have lists on their to-do list. It's just a never-ending process, but I like the suggestions on trying to make those top 5 things, priority, and the things so that you are not in the office between 6 and 8 o'clock when you're supposed to be at that point at home. So is this kind of short bursts of intense, like this 20 minutes of working and stuff like that, is that considered how you were talking about how stopping to act like a machine skyrockets productivity? Is that kind of in line with that?
Yes, absolutely. A problem that we have very often is that our work habits come from an assembly line history and mentality, where things need to keep moving over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. A couple of problems with that is we're not machines. So we don't function in a completely linear way. And as a matter of fact, plant owners know that, who have built into the process a number of breaks. Because if people don't get their breaks, then they start to miss things on the assembly line. When you are a knowledge worker, so in other words, when your job involves working with your brain, it's even more so. We have a number of regular rhythms. You're probably familiar with the circadian rhythm, which is basically the rhythm that makes that we fall asleep and sleep at night, that we wake up in the morning, and that we have this like post-lunch dip. The post-lunch dip can be brought on by food, but even if you eat a perfectly healthy lunch, you're still going to have that post-lunch dip because it corresponds to something that happens in our body hormonally that makes us less alert, less productive at that time. There is also another rhythm that people have started to see recently that is the same, similar to what you have during sleep. If you know, we sleep in cycles of about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the person. And we start almost awake, and then we go into deep sleep, and we go again to that wake-up or almost wake-up point, and we go back into deep sleep. We have something a little similar happening during the day, where our alertness, which is one of the important aspects for brain work, because if you're half asleep, you don't work very well with your brain. At least
right.
I don't.
Right.
You can see that you have that ebb and flow, and if you actually work according to it, it makes it a lot easier. The 20, 25-minute and 5-minute break is an extreme way to do that. But if you work a little bit less intensively, you can do every hour and a half to 2 hours and take a break. And if you look at the traditional way that people worked, let's say in the 50s or the 60s, including in offices, they would come in the morning, then there would be the coffee break, then there would be the lunch break, then there would be the afternoon break, and then they would go home. And if you look at the timing of those, they're approximately every 2 hours.
Right. Well, unfortunately, nowadays, most people don't even take breaks. And if you do research on the Internet, and, you know, we're a fast-paced society, and the people, you know, they work through lunch, and you just exhaust yourself. And I'm guilty of it, too. So
yeah, and
I
that's
understand.
actually very counterproductive, because if you work straight through, by the time, without break, by the time you get to 2 o'clock, you're wiped out. So the work that you do from 2 to 5 or 6 is not good work. You're very slow at doing what you need to do, and you're very ineffective as well.
Yeah,
you make
it does
more
take
mistakes.
longer sometimes.
You're not creative. You take longer. And I know it is a really important shift, and I'm actually working with a client on this right now who has resisted me tremendously on taking the breaks because he feels like he has no time to take breaks. And finally he agreed to test it and to say, okay, I'll do it for 3 days. And what I asked him to do was really simple. Every hour to stop and take 2 or 3 minutes to do a couple of stretch moves, and a couple of deep breathing, take a few deep breaths, and then go back to work. So,
and it's helpful for him?
Yes. He
Great.
is now ready to do it every day because he saw that when he takes those breaks, then he gets to 3 or 4 and he's still alert. He's still really able to work, get things done, find solutions, while before, by 2 o'clock, he was wiped out.
Mm. Well, that's very good to know. That really
and
is
again,
good.
it's something, it's 5 minutes.
Right. And that makes all the difference sometimes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw out your contact information. We have like 4 minutes to go here. So you can go to TimetoPlay.com under Happiness and read Karin's biweekly articles. I'm actually thinking maybe for next week, maybe we can put up that list for people's to-do lists or a link to it, so that might be helpful for people. You can go to dailymastery.com, and her phone number is 201-497-0403, or email at info@dailymastery.com, or the questions that you can ask directly through the Time to Play site on Karin's page. The new discussion forum is up, and any of the professionals on the website can be asked a question. There is no cost for this. These amazing people are just part of the team to help 1 million people enjoy life. Next week, join us. Karin Garvey is going to be here, and she's a professional resource, of course, on the Time to Play site under Happy, and she'll be discussing new approaches for New Year's resolutions because she doesn't believe in making them either, and finding a new perspective for 2012. And although my New Year's resolution for this year is to help 1 million people with my team, all of us together, and again, all of us in America, all of us are part of the team. After the programs, the podcasts are available on demand, and you could go back and listen or tell a friend so they could listen too. And I really thank everybody on my team, for helping to bring information to people to have a better life. Karin, you have a sentence on your website, and just to reiterate about the small tweaks. So in our last 2 minutes, could you just repeat that little thing about the small tweaks, the fine-tunings, and how you can have your, work-life balance and your accomplishments with your small tweaks?
I don't have my site in front of me, so I don't know what is the exact sentence that I wrote.
Oh, no, it's just regarding the small tweaks. Just the small tweaks.
But it's really, our lives are very rarely really broken. Our systems are very rarely really broken. I see that in my practice every day. People come to me and they say, I'm completely disorganized. And it turns out that no, we all have a lot of things that work right. But we just need to tweak. We need to fine-tune. We need to do those little changes. Again, 5-minute changes, easy changes that will transform things. Just to give you a sense, that tip about email, I had a client who called me after implementing it and saying that he had regained 3 hours in a day just from turning off his alarm and checking his email at least 3 times in the day.
That's the best solution.
Yeah, it's not big things. You don't need big things. You don't have the energy for big things anyway. But those little change, those little tweaks, the top 5 priorities, same thing. Because if you have that list in front of you throughout the day, you're much less likely to get distracted by lower priority things until your high priority things are done. If you don't have anything in front of you, you're basically reacting to what comes your way instead of proactively deciding what your day is going to be and what your priorities are. And again, that makes all the difference. You may be just as busy, but you're going to be so much more happier, and you will feel that you have accomplished so much more because you have done the things that mattered. And that's
you'll be
really
in control.
what it boils down to. Exactly. And that's really what it boils down to.
Well, thank you so much, Karin. We're pretty much out of time. And hey, thank you, Francine, for calling
Thank
in.
you.
And
Thank
I hope
you, Karen.
you
Thank
guys
you.
have great takeaways. And
You're
thank
very
you again,
welcome.
Karen. Thank
it
you
was
so
a pleasure.
much.
Thank you for allowing me to share this.
Okay, thank you very much. Happy New Year.